Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me check my volume, make sure my mic is up. I have to be honest, I often don't come on during Saturdays because I think Jimmy Dore usually comes on during Saturdays and my crowd gets drained away by Dore. But that being said, it's 8 o'clock. It's 8:15 p.m. on a Saturday evening. I hope everyone had a good day. I had an awesome day. I had an absolute awesome day. Got up to a late start. That's fine because I tend to be an insomniac. So any sleep that I get, I accept it and say thank you for it. Ended up going to a mani-pedi. I like mani-pedis. I think men who don't are insane. They're fucking amazing. Life is short. Any pleasure you can get out of it, squeeze it like a lemon. And then we went with my mom and her husband to dinner. Great day. So I came here today and I said, I had this thing that's been in my head for the past several days that I've toyed with, played with, meditated in the shower with it, but I haven't really necessarily sat down and fully fleshed through it. But I do know what I want to say. And knowing what I want to say is more important than actually fleshing it out. In fact, I don't like fleshing it out. I tend to be worse when I flesh it out. So I'm going to flesh it out here with everyone else. And I'm just going to be honest and say what I need to say. And I ask for your ear. I said that way. Before getting into it, next week on Wednesday, Jordan Sheridan is going to be here on the show. I know that he was on Jimmy Dore recently, so I feel pretty good that I'm like his second interview. So he will be here on the Progressive Soapbox. That should be fucking amazing. And I have another guest coming up next week. History professor, PhD. The man is amazing. I think it's PhD. Fascinating. It is going to be one of the best interviews. I mean, just from the standpoint of who the person is and what he talks about. He deals with black studies within the context of the United States. It's fascinating. When he starts talking about the Civil War or the American Revolution, oh, it is fascinating. And if you look at it from the context of what's taking place in South Africa, and South Africa's history, it makes more context to American history. Like it's looking at history outside of the context that you're in and getting a better perspective of the context that you're in because of its third party. You can look at it in a different way. So that interview should be great. Let's be expansive. Let's be hopeful and expansive. Recently, Donald Trump struck Syria. Apparently, supposedly, Syria has chemical weapons. Syria supposedly released those chemical weapons, at least that's the narrative that we're given. And because that, the United States has stepped in and has been Papa to the world and has struck the country. Right here. So, I've done many videos on this, so I'm just going to give a brief synopsis so I don't necessarily get stuck in the weeds. Strikes on Syria, what we know so far. The United States, UK, France have launched joint military strike. U.S. launched military strikes alongside the UK and French forces aimed at reducing Syrian regime's chemical weapons facilities in the wake of last week's gas attack on Damascus suburb of Douma. 105 missiles were fired in total, Pentagon said. The stenographers, this is what the Pentagon said. It doesn't really matter what's true. This is what the Pentagon said. At which point did news people come stenographers? All of this. The only thing that's true is the United States launched military strikes along French forces. We don't know if they have chemical weapons. For what my understanding is, independent observers found the release that they got rid of those in the wake of last week's gas attack. We don't even know if it was a gas attack. According to Russia, these guys were actors. Well, not actors, but there was an attack, but it wasn't a gas attack. The people were experiencing smoke inhalation. Somebody comes in and said it was a chemical attack. People looking around like, what the fuck is going on? I'm making a point to you that all of this is from a very specific perspective. And they don't even take the steps to figure out what's true. They just said, this is what the Pentagon said. But whatever, I don't want to get into weeds. Moments after Donald Trump finished his address on Friday night, reports emerged of explosions in Damascus at around 2 a.m., whatever BST stands for. A Pentagon briefing later confirmed 3 sites were hit in Damascus and Homs. The sites were all regarded as likely storage or testing chemical weapons. emphasis, regarded as linked to storage chemical weapons. Syrian defenses responded to the strikes, but the United States said it had suffered no losses in the initial airstrikes. Again, stenographers, what's true? Who knows? We don't care. My issue with this is they give this as if this is the truth. What's true? How do you know it's true? Somebody else is competing with this narrative of events. Does the United States, France, and Britain is the definitive world now? The United States is 5% of the world's population. Britain and France, a pittance of what the United States has. At what point did those three countries become the world? They have a perspective of events. But they have a perspective of events in the same way that the United States is a fair arbiter in a conversation between Israel and Gaza. The United States gives Israel billions of dollars. It's not a fair arbiter. In the same way that the United States, France, and Britain are not fair arbiters, they want that regime, that government, toppled. The news is being stenographers to people who have a dog in the hunt and taken as if what they're saying is accurate and honest, as if they don't have a dog in the hunt. Syrian state TV showed a video of Bashar al-Assad arriving to work Saturday morning after coalition strikes. Syrian air defense systems intercepted 71 out of 103 cruise missiles fired at the United States strikes, claims the Russian military. The Pentagon has denied any interceptions were made. Russian air defense systems did not respond to the missiles, it added. What's true? Did they shoot them down or not? Who knows? Who knows? This is the bare bones of what took place. Russia said it will respond. Iran has even said that it will potentially respond to this. So this is probably not the end of this. This is just escalation to which we're waiting on the response of Russia. So weapons inspectors were on their way. Chemical weapons inspectors were on their way to figure out what actually took place. Russia said nothing took place. The United States said something took place. Chemical weapons inspectors were there to figure out what took place. They were independent. And lo and behold, bombings. There were bombings. Isn't that curious? Think for the moment. Just think. Syria has cleared over 90% of their territory. They've just literally cleared that area. Now, for whatever reason, we are expected to believe that Bashar al-Assad had everything that he wanted. His government was stable. He was winning militarily. He had, for all intents and purposes, won the war. He has gotten everything that he needs in a situation. It's a horrible situation. A million people have died. Atrocities have been committed on both sides. But he has everything that he wants. We know, as a flat fact, that the Western powers wanted Assad out of his seat. We know that Britain and the United States were paying terrorists. Britain put it in goddamn documents saying that they paid like 100 million euros or British pounds to terrorists. The United States has at this point been very clear that they've been paying money to terrorists. They call them moderates. The terrorists. Islamic radicalist terrorists. They want to turn Syria into this kind of Sharia law for all of the Syrians that are associated with that country. Now, the United States calls this the Free Syrian Army. The oddity of this is that the media takes this as a natural and a normal thing, that the United States government is paying terrorists to take down another country's leader. It's amazing that this is in the open and the media just looks at this with a shrug. Why are you shrugging? And why are you taking the word of the terrorists that are trying to topple this as some kind of truth in this? If we have a dog in the hunt, and if the terrorists are screaming that Assad did it, then why on earth are we taking the United States word of the terrorist word as being indicative of some kind of independent arbiter? They're not. Not to mention, you're a terrorist. You've been trying to topple a government. You've been involved in atrocities, and atrocities have been committed against you. You're about to face oblivion. You're about to lose. Assad has everything that he wants, and they're coming in to get you. They're coming in your life. What do? You have access to chemical weapons. New York Times has noted that these guys have access to chemical weapons. The Defense Intelligence Agency's documents have shown they have access to chemical weapons. Seymour Hersh reports they have access to chemical weapons. They themselves have access to chemical weapons. What do you do? What do you do? You're about to be killed. You're facing oblivion. What you do is you release those chemical weapons, either with the help of the United States or with the knowledge of the United States. Because what you understand is the Western powers want Assad out of that seat, and they're looking for any pretext they can to justify a strike. What do you know? Chemical weapons have been released. And the Western powers, either they knew, meaning they allowed it, or they assisted. Whichever one it is less important to me, believe it or not. I care more so about the effect, the pretext. Now, Assad has nothing to gain from this. Russia has nothing to gain from this. In fact, we are supposed to believe that Assad is a bloodthirsty maniac that hates his own people so much, that is willing to kill his own people so much, that despite having everything that he wants in his process, despite having over 90% of the area cleared of terrorists, despite having everything that he wants, in this one moment he just feels the need, I need to be goddamn bloodthirsty, and I need to release chemical weapons. This makes no sense. We're supposed to believe that he's such a bloodthirsty maniac that he cares more about being bloodthirsty than his own geopolitical interests, despite spending year after year after year of struggling to stay in that seat of power. In this very moment, he's a bloodthirsty maniac that doesn't care about staying in the seat of power. Think. Which is more true? Who has more to gain? The terrorists that have this opportunity of bringing in the United States and Western forces to assist them and taking over Syria, or Assad. Assad has nothing to gain from this. In fact, this is against his strategic interests. Think. They're asking you to believe something that's not true. Take a look at this. Right here. The last gas attack where Donald Trump attacked Syria. Mattis admits there was no evidence Assad used poison gas on his own people. They didn't know. They didn't wait for investigators. They didn't know. They just struck. They struck because they wanted to take Assad out of the seat. They didn't care about whether or not it was true. Being true had nothing to do with it. Listen to this. This was a previous chemical strike where Obama tried to get support in order to take Assad out because he wanted to bomb Syria. Again, this is the UN weapons inspector who was there, who actually did evidence to figure out who was more likely responsible for releasing the chemical weapons. Listen to what she has to say.
Our investigation for crimes against humanity and war crimes, we collect some witness testimony that made to appear that some chemical weapons were used, in particular nervine gas. And what appeared on to our investigation that was used by the opponents, by the rebels, and we have no indication at all that the government, Syria, the authority of the Syria government have used chemical weapons.
Understand what she's saying. It wasn't Assad. It was the rebels. It was the terrorists. The terrorists that we have been working with and that we have been getting arms into their hands. And by the way, when the Obama administration kept saying rebels, some of those people they were giving weapons to was ISIS. Be very clear. When the Independent had an investigation, or either they were reporting on an investigation, but they made the point that the weapons they were ending up in the hands of terrorists outnumbered what would typically be from battlefields, meaning Saudi Arabia and the United States have been supplying them weapons. They wanted Assad out of the seat. Should our government be involved in giving weapons to terrorists? Here's another one. Top UN inspector, Assad not responsible for chemical weapons attack. This was the other chemical weapons attack. Mathis said he doesn't know. The inspectors who actually did the investigation said it wasn't Assad. There was even a different weapons signature than what Assad had, meaning than what Syrian government had versus what was released in that strike. Add to that Russia is backing Syria. Russian officials warn of possible military clashes with the United States over Syria. What would be the repercussions of that? The United States strikes. It hits Russians. Russia attacks back. What will take place in the United States if Russia bombs several military installations of the United States? What would take place if Russia bombs a ship and sinks one of the United States ships? It would be proportionality, by the way. But what do you think the response in America would be over that? And what do you think the repercussions would be from the tumbling effect as the United States does something and Russia responds? This is what's taking place right now, what these guys are doing. We are waiting on a Russia response. This is what's taking place. This is the decisions that these guys have created. Syria is not on the border of North Carolina. And the question always comes up, what powers, how on earth is the president doing this? Tulsi Gabbard questioned them on this. Listen to what she asked.
The president has indicated recently his intention to launch U.S. military attacks against Syria. Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the sole power to declare war. Congress has not done so against the Syrian government. Section 3 of the War Powers Resolution requires the president to consult with Congress before introducing U.S. armed forces into situations of hostilities. Section 2 of the War Powers Resolution clarifies the constitutional powers of the President as Commander-in-Chief in Article 2, which you referenced, Secretary Mattis, to introduce forces into hostilities only pursuant to 1, a declaration of war, 2, specific statutory authorization, or 3, a national emergency created by an attack upon the U.S., its territories, possessions, or armed forces. Syria has not declared war against the U.S. or threatened the U.S. The launch of 59 missiles against Syria by Trump last year was illegal and did not meet any of those criteria in the War Powers Resolution.
I'm stopping this for the moment to put a pin in what she said. What Trump did last year with launching those missiles was illegal, profoundly and completely illegal. Nobody in the media brings that up. But yes, it was absolutely, completely illegal. Congress doesn't do anything about it. They are screaming that they want him impeached. If they want to impeach him on something he did illegally. That was illegal. So what were these missiles that were launched this time? Over 100, double. And beyond that, I've just shown you evidence that it was most likely not Assad, that it was most likely the terrorists themselves. You've seen it from the UN, you saw it from Seymour Hersh, you saw it now from other sources saying, look, most likely the prior ones was the terrorists. Combine it with Mattis saying, we don't know who did it. We don't know. Pompeo apparently says the same thing. We don't really know who did it. And now you're finding out that Donald Trump has struck them when they didn't necessarily know whether or not they were guilty in the first place and that those strikes were illegal. Just wanted to put a pin in it. Let's keep going.
The Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2018, which was signed into law by President Trump, states that none of the funds made available by this act may be used with respect to Syria in contravention of the War Powers Resolution, including for the introduction of U.S. armed military forces into hostilities in Syria. My question is, will the President uphold the Constitution, the War Powers Resolution, and comply with the law that he signed by obtaining authorization from Congress before launching U.S. military attacks against Syria?
Congresswoman, we have not yet made any decision to launch military attacks into Syria. I think that when you look back at President Obama sending the U.S. troops into Syria at the time he did, he also had to deal with this type of situation because we were going after a named terrorist group that was not actually named in the AUMF that put them in. This is a complex area, I'll be the first to admit.
No, sir, it's not complex. It's illegal. Let's not use that euphemism. The term is illegal. I like the way it comes up. Illegal. illegal. You're talking about something that's illegal. It's not complex. Don't use the word complex. That's not a synonym. That's not a proper synonym. Let's keep going. I'm creating a thread here. I'm trying to make a point. Put this for the moment to the corner. Let's put it to the corner. Let's call it Exhibit A. I'm going to come back to Exhibit A, but I want to add in a few exhibits. Donald Trump on the campaign trail said, I am going to raise taxes on the rich, that I am not in any way going to benefit from me taking office and me whatever I'm going to do with the tax plan. Take a look at this. Trump's tax cuts didn't benefit U.S. workers, but it made companies richer, and analysis finds. President Donald Trump's corporate tax cut might not have trickled down to American workers in the way that he suggested they would. Trump and Republican leadership have long touted their tax cuts as a massive boon to American working class, if not through direct tax reductions or refunds, then through trickle-down effect of bonuses and wage increases from their employers who receive massive corporate tax cuts. Tax reform is working, Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan said in January, mentioned Apple's decision to reward a bonus of $2,500 in stock grants to some Apple employees. Workers are coming home and telling their families they got a bonus or they got a raise or they're getting better benefits. But a new analysis of all Fortune 500 companies found only 4.3% of workers will receive a one-time bonus or wage increase tied to the business tax cuts, while businesses receiving 9 times more in cuts than what they passed on to their workers, according to the Americans for Tax Fairness Advocacy Group, devoted for tax reform. Now, this is a no-duh. Donald Trump essentially put $1 trillion on our backs, the backs of workers, while giving his cronies, his plutocrats, and himself a massive tax cut. That's the truth of the matter. I don't think that's in conflict. In fact, he raised taxes on us. If you spread it out, they're using some tax skimming in regards to the law, but for all intents and purposes, they've raised taxes on the bottom classes. That's a lie. That's an opposite of what he said he was going to do in the campaign trail. I've been fair when dealing with Trump. I don't like him, but I've been fair when dealing with him. So when I say this, I'm not saying this to be punitive. You can look over my catalog of shows. He lied. Own it. Accept it. Let's keep going. Donald Trump said everyone was going to have big, beautiful health insurance. He may not have used those exact words, but he says Trump vows insurance for everybody in Obamacare replacement plan. Now, you may have disliked Obamacare, but what did you think about Trump Care? Did you think Trump Care was better than Obamacare? I would think you were insane if you thought that. Ultimately, I would agree with you. This idea that you force people to pay for healthcare is insane. Meaning, if you're going to tell somebody that you are forced to buy something from a private company, that is insane. I don't want to be forced to buy anything from anybody. Now, if you say that you're going to have Medicare for everybody, and it's just, you wake up in the morning, you have Medicare, you have a kid, that kid has Medicare, that's different. That's different. Donald Trump saying that everybody's going to have healthcare sounds a lot like Donald Trump was saying he was for a single-payer healthcare plan. Now, he takes office and he passes Trump Care, or he tries to pass Trump Care, which was a weaker, shittier version than Obamacare, while, again, giving his cronies tax cuts. Build the wall. Yes, he is trying to build the wall. I think it's ridiculous, but he is trying to build the wall. Said no one will be worse off financially. That was not true. And the biggest one is back to Exhibit A. Conciliatory towards Russia. I will be conciliatory towards Russia. I don't want to get us into a conflict. I want to pull us out. I want to make America great. I want to focus on America. I want to make America great. That's what I want to do. I am Donald Trump. Donald Trump even sending tweets to Obama saying, hey, he needs congressional authority to do those strikes. Well, now he's done those strikes. A litany of failures. And now he's done those strikes. As somebody who dealt with Obama, I would make the case to you that Donald Trump is essentially Obama for the Republicans. Yes, I would honestly make that case. Make America great again, hope and change, those things for all intents and purposes, the same thing cut in different ways between red and blue. I understand The fundamental feature in both is change. People want change. They want something different. The thing is, despite you wanting something different, you're continually to follow within the same modes of sorts. It's almost like continuing to do the same thing but wanting a different result. What I'm telling you is, it took us 8 years to wake up, but we're woke. And the fact is, you guys are in this process that we were in when Obama took office, believing that this particular president is just going through the motions, that he wants to do something different, that he is something different. I'm telling you, he's not. He is the same thing that you guys have always gotten, and the same thing when we voted for Obama. It was the same thing that we've always gotten. What we thought it was something different, but it was actually the same thing. I'm asking you to wake up. I'm asking you to wake up before you get to 4 and 8 years. And then you look back and like, God damn it, he had us. I'm telling you, you're had now. You're had now. The president did a military strike, full well knowing and understanding that there could be major repercussions and that there would be an escalation. He didn't run on that. That's different to the thing he campaigned on. And I understand that there are a lot of people who are pissed off by that. You should be pissed off by that. Mike Pompeo, the one that Donald Trump, right here, where is it? Right here. Russia has said it will respond militarily if Russians are killed or injured. Mike Pompeo boasts about the United States killing a couple hundred Russians in Syria. This is not main news yet, so Russia doesn't necessarily have to respond to this. There is political and diplomatic leeway. But this is what's taking place. I'm trying to get you to understand the gravity of what's taking place. They are inching us into World War III with a president who said he was pulling us out of these conflicts. I understand that many people don't necessarily know who to cling to. They went to Trump thinking that they were going to get something different. And they feel some kind of way about it. I don't want you to be disgruntled. I don't want you to have your head down. I want you to be like this, because I think this is the appropriate reaction. I think this is correct.
Damn it, man. What the fuck? Is there nobody fucking pure in this goddamn fucking world? See, now I'm fucking pissed right now. Syria fought Al-Qaeda, they fought ISIS, they fought it all. And now you got Mattis and fucking all these people shitting all over us. And the goddamn fucking liberal fascists censoring us everywhere the last 2 days. We did an emergency fucking 36-hour broadcast trying to stop this shit that could lead to World War III. And you fucking liberal pieces of fucking shit, you fucking assholes, fucking support this. Fuck you. You fucking goddamn degenerate fucks. And fucking Mueller and fucking Comey and fuck you. Every major analyst, see, I shouldn't even be on there right now. Every analyst agrees that this could trigger World War III unlike anything in our history. And the Russians were the good guys battling ISIS and Al-Qaeda. I'm not a Russophile. I've never been to Russia. But I've studied the geopolitics. They are the white knights. And our military 5 years ago joining the Russians to block Obama and the Arab Spring and do the right thing, did the right thing. And now, Mattis looks like a fucking Emperor Palpatine. When that cocksucker knows full fucking well that Al-Qaeda and ISIS staged all those fucking chemical attacks. And now they're blaming it on the goddamn motherfucking I shouldn't be on there right now.
Whatever you want to think about Alex Jones, that's an honest and decent reaction to have. That's right. Now, what I'm asking and what I'm saying, this is a long way around the barn. This is a lot of wood to chop, but I wanted to make my case, and I wanted to make my case in full. Come to Jesus. Come to Jesus. There is another option. You don't have to be like us. You don't have to wait all the time to be awakened. Come to Jesus. And by Jesus, I just mean be honest with yourself. This is the guy who you voted for. And this is the guy who has not lived up to the things that he said. I'm saying come to Jesus now. Don't wait 8 years. you have people who are welcoming you with open arms. What I would say is, we call ourselves the left, but fundamentally we're different than what they have as Democrats. We are distinct. We are the malcontents. We're the people who don't get along with either of these parties, and we have said, we're done. Now, I'm asking you to join us in being done. If you're on this channel, look, there are a certain section of the Trump voters that are racist and sexist and everything else. Now, I suspect that I would never get those people, meaning they wouldn't be on this channel. If you've stumbled on this channel in some odd way, if you're a wayward Democrat, if you're a Trump voter who's open-minded, come to Jesus. In the same way that we are fundamentally different than what they are, I would make the case that maybe you're fundamentally different too than what they are. And maybe we can be fundamentally different together. We are in the wilderness, and maybe you're also in the wilderness. And I am saying, as we are in the wilderness, if we are in the wilderness together, maybe we're not in the wilderness anymore at that point. Maybe we are the things that hunt in the night and have teeth. I'm saying that we potentially outnumber the party system if we came to some understanding and came to Jesus together. Think about that for a moment. There are always divisions in regards to parties, meaning even between Democrats and lefties, or Democrats and progressives, there were divisions between those things. There were always things that they had to try to mend and break and so forth, and they didn't fully agree with the corporatists versus the other left-wing portions of the party. Same thing with Republicans. Why would we be any different on that? We fundamentally agree on this issue of war. I would wager that many lefties or independents even agree with issues of healthcare and everything else, or at the very least agree from the standpoint of there needs to be margins between these things. But I don't think those things are so divisive between us that those are not a basis for us to be together. I don't know how much you agree with from the content on my channel, but even if you agree with 60 or 70%, that is a 60 or 70%, 30% gap that we can argue and bitch about. But we should be together and we should be united. These people are trying to take us to World War III. Understand the context to which I'm bringing this. They have failed. They have lied to you. In the same way that Democrats and Obama lied to the lefties in the party in order to get their votes, they have failed and they have lied. And they are now stepping us one step over the next to the brink of a goddamn war. And Pompeo is bragging about killing Russians. Understand the gravity to which you find yourselves here. I understand that you voted for this person. I understand you might have found Hillary Clinton detestable, or you thought she was going to start World War III, whatever the reasons. I voted for Jill Stein. I didn't trust them. I didn't like them. They cheated Sanders. And the idea that they put that woman up when that woman should be in prison was abominable. I am not in this thing of silencing your speech. Don't be racist around me. Don't be sexist around me. But for all intents and purposes, speak your piece. I understand that you need jobs. You may not care about the energy markets, but hey, a green energy deal, in which case all of these jobs are flowing into the United States on that very specific point. Maybe you don't care about the environment. Maybe you're just null about the environment, but at the very least, a green energy thing gives you the jobs that you want, the jobs that we want. And it gets this country making America first. Get out of those wars. We don't want to be in the Middle East. I don't care the reasons for not wanting to be over there. I don't want to be over there. I want their troops brought home. I want the military budget cut in half, and I want that money invested into this country. I'm making a point to you that we agree. We are not that different. We are not as divided as they try to make us seem to be. I don't think all of you are racist and sexist in the way that the Democrats make you out to be. In fact, there are some things that we can argue over, but there are things that every party argues over. We're the malcontents. We are the others. We're the ones that don't necessarily fit into their political bubbles. We do not necessarily agree with their political thing, but we end up voting for these parties because we can't consider anything else. I'm telling you that there is another option. There is whatever we are. There is no name for us. There's nothing to define us per se, but we are fundamentally different, and I'm saying we can be different together. And that gives us a certain amount of teeth. I think the left and the right are not as divided as they say we are. At the very least, this element of what we consider the left and the element that voted for Trump of the right. I don't think we are. I don't think HA, I don't think myself, I don't think some of these other lefties will be getting people on their channel if we were. Saddle up. There's another option. Own up to the fact that Trump has failed you. and that he wasn't what you thought he was. In the same way, we had to own up to the fact that Obama failed us and wasn't what we thought he was. That's my pitch. That's the pitch that I'm putting out. So, if anybody wants to call in, I will take calls. This is somewhat of a long pitch. I'm sorry for it being so long, but I really did I wanted to make my pitch. I wanted to make it full and complete. So, there are people here. K. Jan. Are the chemical inspectors going to analyze the supposed chemical weapons facilities targeted yesterday? Thanks, Jamal. Great channel. How could they? That the United States blew shit to hell. I mean, France, the UK, and America struck without waiting for the chemical inspectors to do their jobs. We have no idea whether or not the chemical weapons inspectors can even do their jobs at this point. I don't know. We haven't found out yet. I mean, they blew the shit to hell. That is extremely suspicious that they would do that. That is extremely suspicious, and it adds more credibility to the Russian case, if I'm being honest. And by the way, K. Jan, thank you very much. Your help is appreciated. Super Cash helps. Super Cash is always appreciated. Thank you very much. So let's see. We have a caller. Who is this? Brian Ramirez. What's happening, Brian?
Oh, what's up, brother? It's been a little while.
Not too much. Yeah, it's been a while, man. It's been a while. Hope everything's been going okay.
Yeah, this is nuts. You know, it's just as much the left's fault as it is the right at this point.
Explain. And by the way,
okay.
What do you think of my pitch? So I make this pitch because I do have Trump supporters that are on my page, and I hope I am not stuck in a bubble where I can't pierce outside of it to try to grab some of the market share. But I say that to say, I don't think we're that divided. I honestly don't. I don't think if you went to people and said, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? I would almost guarantee you that people want the same things. There's cultural things and cultural stuff that gets stuck into this process. But those things are played up for political effects. And I think when you get to brass tacks of what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want for your kids? What do you want for your grandparents? What do you want for yourself when you get old? What do you want? I would wager to you that those things are extraordinarily similar.
I completely agree. It's why Bernie's platform was so popular, is because most of the stuff on it had at least 50% of, the voting public behind it. So that shows that there's not really the divide that people think that there is.
Yeah. Agree.
Now, when I say that this situation is the fault of the left and the right, it's because we haven't done enough to really hold our representatives accountable. And that's really what it comes down to. We have got to get a handle on these people.
What do you mean by done enough? Explain. See, I have my own ideas of this, but what do you mean when you say done enough? I agree with you, but I agree with you in an odd way. Explain what you mean, and I'll explain what I mean.
Well, what I mean is we haven't protested enough. We haven't gone out there and really made and done what it takes to really make our voices heard on this.
Yeah.
We need a really strong anti-war movement, and we need to really press these people on the fact that we are done with this shit.
How do you press them?
I think we show up at their houses. We protest. We
and if
make
they say
their lives,
and if they say
we make
fuck
their
all,
lives difficult.
If they say fuck all, if they say, yes, I understand you guys are protesting, I understand you feel some kind of way about it, I am hearing what you're saying, it is touching me to my heart, I understand, and then they go out and still make the same vote, then what?
Well, some of us may have to go to jail. I mean, I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think a lot of us are going to probably end up going to jail.
Okay,
but
1,000 of you go to jail, and they still make the same vote, then what?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
is that? I'm asking.
Are we at a point where we need violence?
No. Let me explain what I'm getting at. Let me explain what I'm getting at.
Okay.
The argument of you have nowhere else to go. The problem, the strength of this argument, is that it full well depends upon the individual to be so terrified of some other thing that they're stuck with the thing that they have. So imagine the situation of Syrian refugees who think Assad is a fucking asshole and a horrible fucking autocrat, but says he's better than the terrorists who are going to take over and install Sharia law. I'm saying that the argument that you have nowhere else to go, I understand you protest. I understand you're going to jail. I understand all that. I'm sorry. That's a sad day for you. I'm still going to make that same vote because you have nowhere else to go. At the end of the day, all your bitching, all your moaning, you're still going to come to us. You're still going to come to us, the Democratic Party, because Republicans are maniacs.
And that's why we need to just completely leave them behind.
They
Tim Canova
need to know that they can lose.
Tim is a perfect example.
Yes, he is.
Let the Democratic Party die.
And right, it needs to have teeth. It has to have, and what I mean by teeth is this full, complete, unabashed understanding that you are going to lose. Unequivocally, that you're going to lose. That the people who we're going to run are going to be to your left. They're going to be unapologetic, and they're going to view themselves as something fundamentally different than what you are. Meaning they're going to run at you in the same way that Republicans run at Democrats. You are going to lose. That needs to be understood from flesh to bone in the same way that we understand breathing. You are going to lose. Because, look, all the people going to prison, all the people going to jail, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, honestly, I understand people protest and they get it, like, I'm angry. But the fact is, if you're protesting and you're still turning around and saying, fuck, gotta vote for this person.
Yeah, you can't, no. That's not going to work.
That's not going to work.
I completely agree with you.
It still puts them in office. Now, look, it was one thing when there were movements. Like when you had movements pushing against the party, or when you had the unions, when you had socialists or when there was this honest feeling that, oh my God, this can go under. That was different. But we don't have those things.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, just protesting, you're right, just protesting isn't going to get the job done. We have got to end this damn duopoly because that's what's robbing us of our power.
Yeah, it is. And look, you can imagine, just from a game theory standpoint, that it's somewhat basic. It's, what's the advantage I can get? How can I get the best advantage out of this particular situation over my other person? Well, you only have two. You only have two parties. Like, so you can understand if you're plutocrats and you just pay off both, but it's kind of easy. I can pay off both. Like, it doesn't, and the amount of money that they're getting back on their investment is breathtaking. Like think of some of the deals that are being made here where these guys, all right, I give $100,000 to this guy, but I'm getting back millions in regards to tax breaks and policy shifts and all this other stuff. Look, how much money are they getting back from Trump's tax plan? Oh, fuck. Like, imagine you're paying off a politician and that politician gets, let's say you give $1 million. How much are you getting back from that tax plan? That is an amazing investment.
Yeah, totally agree.
Amazing investment.
Totally agree. So for them, it's worth the gamble.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And that's why we have got to just completely withdraw from the Democratic Party, because it's not going to do us a damn bit of good.
And I say this for Trump supporters also. Like, they're in the same boat. Whether they realize it or not, they're in the same boat. Like, this feel like think of all these people. Let's say this was 2008. And let's say instead of Trump, it was Obama. And let's say instead of Trump supporters, it was Obama supporters. Because guess what? It was.
Right.
That's exactly how it was. You had these Obama supporters who everything Obama said, yes, he's black and he's going to change the world. And somewhere along the way, you realize, well, he's black, but not so much on changing anything. Not so much on the other part.
Didn't change shit.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. He did not. He did not. And he still tried to defend his legacy. Yeah, he did not. He did not.
Legacy, my ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to tell Trump supporters that we've been there, man. We've been there. It's like, come for the hug. We've been there. Yep. that's where I'm at. Brian, thank you for calling in, man. I'm going to take independent. Thanks, dude. What's happening, independent outsider? What's going on, man?
How you doing?
Doing okay.
I know everybody's upset about Syria, but here's what we have to understand. In order to combat this, we have to think of what can we do that's actually going to affect them.
Yes.
Because Everybody knows war's a racket. Everybody's read Smedley Butler. Everybody knows why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
You have to make it not productive for them.
Not profitable. Is that what you mean? Not profitable.
Not profitable. Correct. You're by creating this war, everybody knows that the premise of the war is bullshit.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. Okay, so we are going to
left and right, by the way.
Yes, but all sides. All sides. It's BS. We're going to be upset by Syria gassing 60 to 120 kids and bomb their city and kill them with bombs. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense. The premise makes no sense. I'm always weirded. One of the guys said, it was like some envoy to Syria or something. He's like, this doesn't make sense. He was like, think for the moment. Sky News cut the guy off. So the guy was like, yeah, this doesn't really make any sense. Why would Assad do this? And she's like, yeah, we have to go. I'm sorry, we have to go. Cut him off as soon as he was saying it. But the premise, like when you sit there and you think to yourself, what would need to be true for this to be true? Like, what would need to be true for what they're saying to be true? And what would need to be true is Assad is such a bloodthirsty maniac that he says, I want to gas my own people knowing that Western powers would get involved. But I'm doing so having already won the war. Like, I've pretty much sold this up. But now I just want to do this, just to fucking do it, just for fuck all, just because I get a kickoff of gassing people. And
what's more logical,
and it's against his strategic interests. Meaning, he has just 1 second. He has to be more bloodthirsty than his want for strategic interests, which makes no sense. Makes no sense.
But what is historically makes more sense, because our government has done this constantly.
Yes, Libya being the
create a false
example.
flag. We create a narrative, and then we do whatever we want to do.
Yes.
For our reasons. I mean, war creates an infrastructure. It creates fear, which allows the government to put surveillance in.
Yeah.
And it's a population reducer as well.
It's and it also hits it balances the populace. The United States is in this weird, thing of a populist revolt. I know Republicans got in, but I would argue that the Republicans got in almost as a populist revolt in an odd way. It was still this populist thing. It's just so happened it couldn't express itself through the left because Democrats put up Hillary Clinton in an era where everyone was looking for change. Now, I said it to say war also is this way of limiting the powers of the left from the standpoint of putting a blunt up. Like think back to World War I with Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson put in Eugene Debs in prison, the leftist candidate. So you had the guy in the Democratic Party putting the leftists, the socialists, in prison based on this kind of thing of being at war. Like, war has this tendency to put a chill on the left. Think of the Cold War. What happened to the left during the Cold War? They were obliterated. Like, you couldn't even use the term socialist because they thought you were some kind of goddamn communist. So now, all of a sudden, the Red Menace is back. And it just so happens to come back when you had this time of Bernie Sanders and this kind of Trumpian thing of populist revolt. And what do you know? Red Menace. I just think it exceeds... Believe it or not, I think it exceeds the financial part. I think to some degree it gets into they have geopolitical aims of either destabilizing the Middle East or at the very least maintaining a certain degree of control over that sphere. And
correct.
I think the Arab Spring they lose control.
Yeah.
It
doesn't have anything to do with money anymore. They don't need money anymore. They have the infrastructure. They don't need it.
They may want that oil, though.
We've had that conversation.
Yeah, they may want the oil.
And oil, the resources. They have the labor force at this point. They will be able to automate the workforce within a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
so the unions got to get smart too.
Yes.
I don't know.
I think unions have a problem in regards to. Look, I like unions. I think unions have done amazing things. And I always say I feel like I put a caveat on this because I don't necessarily... It's like when you're talking about government, you're not necessarily talking about the people in that. Like if I say something about Iran, I'm talking about the Iranian government, not necessarily the Iranian people, because the people are disconnected from the government in the same way we're disconnected in many respects from our government. So I need to be clear when I talk about union leadership versus the people who are in the unions themselves. The leaderships of the unions in what was it recently, the West Virginia thing, the leadership was willing to cater, whereas the rest of the union said, fuck you, we're staying out here until we make sure this passes because, you know, you guys are going to fuck us over.
And that movement's growing too. That movement's growing in other states with the teachers union.
I hope so.
We'll see.
I mean, it should. They're teaching our kids. I mean, there's nothing more precious of a job and responsibility. And they get shit on constantly for doing this particular thing. And it's like, come on, stop fucking these people over. But the one thing I wanted to say is, oftentimes unions get cozy with political elites. At least that's the charge that people have used. And you're in a union. If I'm not mistaken, you're in a union. So you would know this dynamic. Like the upper parts of the union, it gets cozy with the elites, and they themselves, in an odd way, becomes these kind of petty bourgeois. They're elites among themselves, in which case they themselves, in some odd way, become somewhat disconnected from the needs of the union. The wildest part was when you found out that all of those union voters went for Trump. A lot of those guys went for Trump, and they bucked the Democratic Party and said, fuck all, you don't represent us, we're going for Trump. That's amazing.
Yeah, you just gave me a stomach. You just gave me a stomachache because my union is trying to get Hillary to run again.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Yes, I am.
That's sad. That's sad.
They're so myopic. They're looking to go to the power.
No, man. I'm sorry, man. That's sad. That doesn't get a pass.
It is sad.
That's sad. That's profoundly sad.
Yeah.
Shame.
I'm not with that. Correct.
Shame on them. Shame.
I am calling out my own union for doing that.
They're trying to get Hillary.
Ridiculous.
Explain to me, why does your union think she failed so miserably the last time? And let me ask you this: is it that the member? Is it union member like elites? Like the people in charge of the union, or is it the union members themselves?
It's the people in charge. It's not. No, the union members themselves. They actually went for Trump.
How do you?
It's the higher up people.
So how explain how are these guys chosen? Like what are the look, one of our main problems in America is the way we've organized our political structure. People think that because the political structure was created that it never should change. No, it should change. We need to have our members to be more accountable in a way where we can get our hands on them in the case they're doing things that we don't particularly like the capacity to recall a Congress member and to have it to be more robust with more teeth in it. Like how, and especially if you're talking about from a union or from a party standpoint, how do you and your union maintain control over the leaders who are elected in that union, if that makes sense? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interview you. It's just you're a part of a union, and I've been trying to get unions on this show for God knows how long.
My issue with my union is that they stick with the incumbents and the people in power, and it did work for a couple of decades, but in this day and age, it will not work. It won't.
Yeah,
they are done. The Claire McCaskills of the world and the Dianne Feinsteins of the world, they're done. It's over. And we need to stop being myopic in this way, and even look at different governmental structures at this point.
I've been trying to get a union member on my show for God knows how long, like trying to get a union top part, because I had questions for the way they've organized themselves and the way they've ran,
right?
And especially questions from the standpoint of, what do you believe? Like it's like you guys have been withering on the vine. Like you've attached yourself to a party in a way where it's no longer an equal partnership. It's one party looking at you saying you have nowhere else to go, and you saying you're right because we're so terrified of the boogeyman at the door, Republicans. So you end up in this situation where Republicans get in and they attack you constantly over and over and over again, and Democrats get in and just say, eh. They never rebuild you.
I've kind of become the black sheep, you know that, because I dim exited last year, and they're like, "What are you doing? You're abandoning your own." Oh no, I'm not.
You're not.
I'm not.
They're not my own.
I have to call my my power structures out.
Yeah,
it's not working. I don't know if you're going to the Left Forum this year, but
maybe.
I will be contacting you in the next month or so because I'm looking to interview people who are resource-based economy people, and I know you are heavily interested in that.
I am.
So people who worked with your hero, yeah. so Fresco. So
Yeah, Fresco.
Yeah.
I
So
can give
people
you.
actually-
I would say even contact what's her name, Meadows, Roxanne. Roxanne is still
Yeah.
doing the thing. You know, she came on for an interview, so she may be open for an interview if you're talking to people. She's awesome.
Actually, she's one of the first ones that I've been. She's someone that I do want to speak with.
Yeah.
As well.
She knows it really well.
but-
I remember one of the sticking points. So I've evolved on this because I started thinking to myself, I thought, how do people, it's hard to take yourself out of the context that you're in. And I do know that in the same way we have people who will give their lives or murder or change their complete morality based on their thought that they're doing this for the betterment of their country, meaning they're joining the military. So we know that people would do things for higher causes or from the things that cultural causes, because that's not natural, by the way. That wasn't something that people used to do. It was beforehand. Got to show this video where you're talking about Britain and how these guys, these kings needed to go to war, and so these kings started coming up with an iconography to get people to actually buy into this idea that there was a united anything, that it was a united Britain, a united France. It was something that made them culturally distinct. They were doing this for war. They just needed people to fight their wars as opposed to the knights who were expensive to do. So this patriotism is not a natural thing. It's not this ingrained human thing. It's a thing that was to some degree ginned up and created. Now, if you were part of a tribe, well, yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. But when you're talking about the expansiveness of an entire area and everything else, no, that wasn't necessary for, this giving your life for your country. The idea of a country at all was kind of, this thing that was ginned up. So
and the idea of borders.
Of borders. So that's kind of my point. Like, you can get people to give their lives for larger causes and to get people to believe things based on cultural traditions and everything else. So their argument is, why would that be any different from the standpoint of a resource-based economy? What if you're just not using that for war? What if you're using that for internal dynamics, meaning service to your country is, in a sense, doing some kind of thing for your country, not murdering somebody else? My thing is, who cleans the warp coils?
My thing is, how on earth can growing food for yourself or collecting water be an unpatriotic act? How can that be unlawful in any way, or be a finable offense, or
or
how can the president take your food if you're storing more than 2 weeks? The world is a little.
Well, your values would have to change. Your values would have to change. I mean, their argument is basic. It's like, look, our values need to change. How we view this stuff needs to change. For instance, do you really need a lawnmower? Do you really need to have and own a lawnmower? How often do you use a lawnmower? What if you had something like a library, and you go to that library, instead of getting a book, you say, I need to rent a lawnmower. They give you a lawnmower, you bring it back when you finish. Well, 99% of the time, that lawnmower is sitting in your garage. Why do you need that many lawnmowers? Now, think of all the steel that's used to create lawnmowers. Think of all the energy and labor that goes into creating lawnmowers. And those things, for the most part, just sit in somebody's garage for 90% of the time.
So I'm gonna end this on one last point.
Go for it.
I don't know if you've ever actually met her, but Deb Della Piana.
No.
May 1st is a day of strike, and she has a website called Become Ungovernable, and she is someone who believes in kind of unplugging with the government and non-participation as a way of protest, not actually getting out there and putting yourself in harm's way, but unplugging. So on May 1st, she's asking for people not to buy anything, not to purchase gas, and I'm going to take it further. I took the day off, and I'm not going to go on the internet. I'm not going to call unless it's an emergency. I'm going to journal it and see where it goes, and
that's going to be painful.
How much I'm going to shake.
That's going to be painful, man. That's going to be painful.
It's going to be painful. But the point is, let's see how much we get. Listen, I'm not saying don't use the internet at all, but how much do we really need all of the things that we're using, and can we pull back a little bit and not depend on the people we're bitching about all the
That
time.
answer is a flat fat yes.
And the government.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
much.
That answer is a flat fat yes. If something happened that reorganized your life, you wouldn't have a choice but to go. And human beings are flexible and pliable, so they'll just do it. Like I get an example. When I first got ill, and the doctor explains to you that this is going to be for the rest of your life, you're like, you don't have a context to put that in. Up to this point, people just give you a shot and you go on with your business, and the world is, butterflies and rainbows. And you get this news that your life is going to be fundamentally different, and you're going to be separate and distinct from everybody for the majority of the people you interact with. And you deal. You don't have a choice but to deal. Like, you can deal badly, you can deal great. You deal. You're pliable. You change. If something happened where human beings didn't have the things that they needed, they would change. Now, the question becomes, can they live with it? Yes. Will they? Like it's like if you're saying, can people live with less? Of course. Do you really need 20 pair of shoes? No. Will people live with less? I don't know. I'll tell you this. When I was in Egypt, I jumped into, I think it was Iliad. Yeah, that's Israel. I went to the northern part of Egypt near Dahab, and because I was trying to go across land into Israel. And I'm tired. I'm so sleepy at this point. Like, I've been up for like 20-something hours. The bus trip took like 18 hours. And it was like at midnight, and they started playing this really loud Egyptian thing with it, la la la. It's like, oh God, man, it's 12 a.m. Why are you doing this? Why are you fucking with me, man? And then they started playing these horrible American movies that nobody has ever seen in their life, but whatever they have in Egypt. And they played this all night at top value. Being like, God damn it! I finally get in, and I get into the place, and I just crash, and I wake up, and I realize that they don't have internet connection at the hotel. And I am freaked out. Like I can't deal with it. I can't. I feel so disconnected. I feel like I'm completely unplugged from everybody else, and that I'm by myself.
That is programmed. I wake up, and what do? I reach for my phone.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So I can watch Jamal Thomas with his Alex Jones video, which was fucking awesome, by the way.
What was fucking awesome? Oh, the Alex Jones. Oh, it was so funny.
Alex Jones.
It was so funny. He said that cocksucker knows goddamn well. I was like, oh, wow. Wow.
But that is an addiction. It's a dopamine addiction.
Yeah.
It is. And we have to, I am doing a lot of work right now. Oh, by the way, change agents coming on my show, Independent Outsider. You'll watch for it in the next week or so. Okay. I have a co-host, Sabrina Giesler. I have things coming up. A lot of political interviews and things. So
just so my audience knows, your channel is named Independent Outsider.
Independent Outsider.
Yeah.
Yes. So I do. I do a lot of conversations. I'm trying to get away from the political and more towards the activism side, or the candidates, away from the candidates and more towards the activism, and more towards activist candidates if I'm going to interview candidates.
Yeah.
So I've interviewed some C4 candidates, and I'm looking to interview more of the activists, some Greens, and hopefully some independents and some C4 candidates. I got that in, but I want to get some activists in on there too. But when you are doing your work and you're talking to people and you're getting involved and you're getting, and you're getting excited, that's your dopamine fix.
Yeah.
I'm doing it right now.
People, it's funny, people ask me, they're like, you're like the hardest working man on YouTube. And I try to explain to them that, yes, this is a job. Yes, I do see it as trying to make the content, because I feel like if people are giving me money on Patreon, then I want to make sure they get their money's worth. And so I tend to, I guess, push myself in doing the videos, but I also enjoy it. Like, so it's like, imagine it's like you press a button that says, if you press this button, you'll feel nice things. This is my press nice button and feel nice things. Even if I'm angry, even if I feel like pissed off, it's still something in me that fires off in my head that likes it. It's weird.
Yeah, and I'm getting a lot. I'm getting a lot out of it.
Yeah, me too.
So but and I know we have wives, so you can't just be at the computer all the time.
The other woman.
So
the other woman.
Exactly.
The other woman. It's like my wife. My wife. She calls this
honey,
channel
I'm
the
not
other
married
woman.
to Siri. You know. Yeah. So, but
she's become
more. The government sees what we're doing and sees what we are reliant on, and will use that.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying don't use the internet or don't use. By the way, stop complaining about Flint if you're not willing to look at what Nestle is providing to you.
Taking that water.
They are. My wife bought a frozen pizza, and I looked at the back of the box. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
There it is.
And their tentacles are in everything. I have to be honest. The ungovernable thing, I would say, not buying anything on that day is more potent than staying off the internet. And the reason is because that man, can you imagine the situation if on one day sales drop by $20 billion?
Right.
It's significant. Like it's one of those things where the public is saying and you know what it is? I know what it is. It's unifying. The biggest issue with anything is usually organization. Like you have all this dust and everything else, and that dust is just kind of dispersed. But the moment they start coming together and it comes to this kind of gravity into itself, it's whatever the problem is. We're trying to pull those elements into one thing. Like think of all of these leftists. Like you have environmentalists. Okay, that's one group. You have Black Lives Matter. That's another group. Those groups believe the same fucking thing, and yet you cannot get their asses out there for each other. So, or the unions, the teachers' unions. Every union should be out there with that teachers' union at this very moment, because those teachers' unions are fighting for those other unions too.
Hell, just my own guys complaining about overtime bypass.
Yeah,
they can't. We'll write a statement. No, I don't want to get involved. Yeah, So, but here's another thing for all the guys who. Anyone, and I know you got hit. First off, our government is droning people and hitting people for using the word gun on YouTube.
Wow,
that's insane. LB the Realist got censored a little bit. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So if anyone complains about YouTube or Twitter or any of these social platforms, find another platform and slowly get away from it.
It's so hard to do,
the
man.
The whole farce, the whole nonsense with that committee or whatever with Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. It was that bad. I was thinking to myself, Zuckerberg is a private business. He's a capitalist. Zuckerberg is going to do whatever Zuckerberg needs to do to maximize his profit. He doesn't care about the social implications. That's less important to him than maximizing his profit. That's all I expect from Zuckerberg.
Unless he's doing something for the government. The people who were speaking to Zuckerberg in a hearing, he gave them money. Or they gave I think he gave those people money. So obviously there's some kind of shenanigans.
Do you know how sad that is and fucked up that is? Like, understand the ridiculousness of this. We have a political system that allows people to give them cash. Now, they try to say that, corporations can't directly put cash in their pockets, but certainly these politicians know which corporations are giving them money and what those corporations want in regards to policy. They also know that if they're not towing that line, they're not going to get that money from those particular super PACs. They don't have to talk to the super PACs. They know that the super PAC is giving them money. Like, this stuff is nonsense. Now, we're supposed to expect that these guys are supposed to regulate the people who are giving them cash. And it's like, so explain this to me. So are you saying that Obama was just in the tank for Wall Street and he wasn't, it's like the money had nothing to do with it. He was just randomly in the tank for Wall Street against homeowners and everybody else who was supporting. Like he literally went against his base to protect bankers.
Yeah.
Now he got more money from Wall Street than any other candidate, any other Republican. And it's that's a coincidence.
Gordon, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. TYT is going to take corruption out of politics. You know how old the word corruption and bribery is? it goes as far back as the 14th century.
Yes, it does.
So for anybody, to have the balls and the hubris to say that they're going to completely eliminate what's been around for at least centuries, that takes a lot.
I don't think you can do it in the way we have to accept that if corruption exists, you have to ask the question, well, why does it exist in the first place? How is it arranged in our system? And those questions are never asked. It's like no one says, hey, scientists, can you organize a system that doesn't have this much corruption in it, or at the very least have mechanisms to try to minimize it? That never comes up. We don't care. We keep the system and we keep plucking away at the system and we shoot, wag our fingers at people who are being corrupt without asking why those people are being corrupt. As if it's some kind of special anomaly that the people are being corrupt. No. If there are incentives for those people to be corrupt.
You get Buddy Roemer to give me $6 million and I will get rid of corruption right now.
I have the biggest bridge that I own that I'm willing to sell you. That bridge is on Mars, by the way. And I swear I have all the rights to it. I have the paperwork to it and everything else. $1 million. $1 million. I'm giving you a deal because you have a sweet face.
I gotta go. It's a real pleasure. Maybe I will see you in the left forum if you decide to go.
I'll see if I can make it, man. I'll see. I've changed my working situation, so I don't necessarily have the income that I had before. But that being said, my wife and I are also trying to travel, so I don't necessarily know if I'm even going to be in the States. But if the situation presents, I loved it last time. I had a good time. Not to mention I met you there last time, so I had a damn good time.
Yeah.
Good time.
It was pretty odd. And you know what? To be honest with you, it depends on what seminars are there.
Yeah.
I'm a little more selective now. Last year I was like anything, and now I have specific topics that I'm looking to look at. Yeah. So we'll see what brings. But again, man, it's been a pleasure. I'll talk to you. Hopefully, talk to you soon.
Yeah, Dave. Have a good one, man. Be safe.
You too, man. Peace.
All right. Let's see. Very cool. There has been a caller that has been trying like nobody's business from 617. I'm not gonna spoof your number or dox your number, but yeah, you feel free to call back, dude. I'm sorry, I had to hang up. I don't have calling mechanisms that call in or all this other stuff. This is a low budget. At least for right now. Let's see. Here we are. What's your name and who are you? I'm gonna call you Mr. Persistent. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Jamal? It's Jay.
What's happening, Jay?
I wanted to actually call in. Thanks for that exclusive interview you did with Dave, Independent Outsider.
What's the interview?
I actually wanted to call and push back against. It's actually funny. I wanted to push back against some of the Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson love you've been showing.
Go for it.
And I'm gonna be play devil's advocate because I did send you a tweet from Tucker Carlson when he did his initial riff on the anti-Syria attacks.
Yeah.
But I do want to push back a little bit as far as making sure we don't show people like Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson too much love in this process.
Now, wait, Jay, just so I'm clear, just so we can define our terms and define where we stand, so each will know where we stand.
Yep.
I've joked Alex Jones like nobody's business. I've had multiple shows where I've made fun of Alex Jones because I think Alex Jones is somewhat ridiculous. I think he's an actor, and I think the guy's been out there screaming about lizard people, and Hillary Clinton is a demon and all this other stuff. So don't misunderstand me. My issue in showing Alex Jones had nothing to do with love for Alex Jones. It was this thing of what are Trump supporters thinking at this very moment. And I would imagine that between Alex Jones, Mike Chernovich, Tucker, these are the guys that Trump supporters, I would imagine crew around to some degree. So if I want to know what a Trump supporter think, how am I going to know what a Trump supporter think unless I actually go to a Trump supporter and say, hey, what do you think? And looking at these guys who are part of the right, who are anti-war, and kind of making the point that even his own supporters are against this particular action and against this particular thing. So that's why I'm showing Alex Jones. As for Tucker Carlson, he's just right. I can joke Tucker Carlson on a 20 videos that Tucker Carlson might have done this week. But on this very specific anti-war thing, I think he is right. Now, hit me, push back on me on where I am perhaps wrong or where I'm perhaps too
here's where I'll push
optimistic.
back. The difference we have to make sure that we differentiate the Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones, the cult of like Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones, from the actual viewers or their viewers per se. Like my problem is the same thing when occasionally I'll watch like mainstream news when we see like the David Frums and we see all these CNN CIA analysts on CNN.
Yeah.
Like we have to be careful not to.
Right.
Yeah. So I just want to make the distinction between the viewers and the actual the personality.
No, that's
right.
fair.
Like I don't like even if this goes back to like the Caitlin Johnstone and the Mike Cernovich debacle, whatever that happened sometime last year. Like the idea that they can be on the same page as far as a policy, but I still think we don't want to wrap our arms around somebody like Mike Cernovich.
I don't think anybody's saying hug a Nazi.
Stance.
Like I don't think anybody's saying hug a Nazi. I guess look, my feeling.
I don't think we should give credibility to Mike Cernovich for our point. Like you could have easily pointed to like a Ben Norton or a Max Blumenthal tweet to make that same point you made with the Alex Jones or the Tucker Carlson video.
I feel you. I guess my feeling. I understand what you're saying. Don't misunderstand me. It's hugging a Nazi. Can we find somebody else other than the Nazi to hug? Like I get your point, and I have to be honest. I really wish. I think I even told her. I really wish you wouldn't have used Cernovich. Like of anybody you could have plucked out of a hat, I really wish it wasn't Cernovich because he's particularly gross to me. Just some of the stuff he said. War matters more. Like, and I need to stress what I mean by that. When I am talking about Trump supporters, I am saying, in my head, I'm saying, look, there is a section that maybe 15% that are racist. Push them off the board. I can never reach those people. Those people will never even see this video. They see my face and I'm like, oh my God, who's this Negro? So take them off the board. There's a certain segment of that, though, that voted for Obama. I think 30% of Trump supporters voted for Obama in the previous one, meaning they're passable. They go either way. And so I look at this and say, well, these guys were looking for change. And they were looking for it in Obama, and they were looking for it in Trump, because both of these people were playing to change candidates. So what do I need to think, and what do I need to do to try to bring these people over to my side? That's where I start. And when I'm making these pictures and saying, come to Jesus, you have somebody else that you can come to. We may not be a thing yet, but you are not yet a thing either. You're not really part of the Republican Party. Come here. So I don't want to, I would joke Tucker Carlson on something that goes against my humanistic values. And I don't necessarily consider this as elevating Tucker from the standpoint of just saying Tucker Carlson, as a right-winger, even a right-winger, is against this particular thing. I think that's strong because that's using their own weapon against them, saying that somebody else that's on your side is also against this particular thing that I myself is against. Now, I think, and I get your point. Cernovich is particularly gross. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's when I read that, I was like, I was like,
And I guess, and another analogy I would like to use is like, I think that, there's obvious problems with Mike Cernovich.
Yeah.
So
obvious problems. Yes. Let's put it mildly. Yeah.
So it's almost like if we were to say like somebody who is like anti-abortion.
Yeah.
Because they're pro-abortion rather, because they don't want like minorities to repopulate, right?
Right.
That's different from somebody that's pro-abortion because they believe in women's rights.
Yeah.
And so I think like at some point, like I think we need to be mindful.
I understand.
As
And
far
just
as,
so we're
like,
clear,
yeah.
just so the audience knows what you mean, You're making a point that, look, just because somebody is anti-war, they may be against anti-war for a different reason.
Yeah, they can be anti-war for reasons that aren't aligned with what we perceive as being anti-war.
But it doesn't matter. Like if
it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter.
I don't think it matters. Like these wars, for instance, Donald Trump comes out and launches missiles. Now I say I don't want us using our military power in order to beat and put a boot on somebody else, especially when they haven't necessarily even demonstrated that what they're saying is true. All of this is on a false pretense. That's where I come from. Now you may have a right winger that says, I don't want us into those countries. Let those darkies deal with their own issue, and they come from it from a completely different standpoint. And I would make the case, I don't care. Like as long as they're standing shoulder to shoulder with me on this very specific point of we should not be using our military force in this way, we're standing shoulder to shoulder. Now,
and I guess my point,
the moment one question on a stage comes up that deviates from that, I'm probably going to be like, but as long as the conversation is that, we're on the same side.
Okay, and I'll make this really quick, but I guess my point is there are other people that feel like we shouldn't be doing these interventionist wars because of the fallout. And then there are people that are against these interventionist wars because they don't want the brown and darkies coming into their country. My point is we shouldn't be highlighting those people.
No, Jay.
You know what I mean? As a last resort.
I understand it. Is it fair to say, though, that if the distinction is made that this is purely anti-war, like is anyone watching this channel looking at Tucker Carlson and they're saying, wow, Tucker Carlson is doing it on this, and then Tucker Carlson does a video where he's saying climate change is bullshit? Are those people going to not be able to make the distinction between good, anti-war, oh, we don't like this, he's against science? Like, I think people can make that distinction. And maybe I'm wrong, but I honestly think that if you're watching this channel, that you can make a distinction between somebody saying something that's within your value system versus that is not. Now, but and to be fair to you, you may make the point of saying, well, yeah, but there may be some things that they're more inclined to believe him on now because you gave him a little bit of credibility on this very issue of anti-war. That's true. That's true. That's a risk. That's a risk. It's one of those probability things that you say which one matters more to you. You're just judging on how you value these things. But I'm not going to lie and say that that's not necessarily a risk. It is. I think the same thing with Bernie Sanders jumping around the country with Tom Perez. Same thing. So.
All right.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I will say this,
I didn't hear anything. I was like, is he still there?
Yeah, I will say this. Because you're a growing channel, I think this may be something that you kind of want to think about going forward.
Go for it.
Because I think at some point you're going to want to make sure that you do align yourself with like the views that you want your audience to embrace.
Yeah.
So I think, so again, like instead of Tucker Carlson, you refer to him like Max Blumenthal. You know, instead of Alex Jones, you refer to Ben Norton. You know what I mean? Like,
no,
I think that's something to think about. Something to think about.
I do understand what you mean. Early when I first started my channel, I saw HA in the way he did his channel. He pivoted hard to this hard right audience that hated Hillary Clinton's guts. And I saw that when he built his channel was built around that. Like the people who were accrued around him were somewhat farther to the right. And so he had to shed this idea of being a lefty. He had to shed some of these things because he understood that this is my audience. This is my base. I will vote for Sanders, but this is my base. And I was curious on what would take place when Sanders runs in 2020. How is he going to maintain that audience in that way? I went along this idea of this is just me. That's all it is. This is just me. So in the same way that I look at Tucker and I say, holy shit, this is rare to have Tucker Carlson doing this, then I'll just say, yeah, good job, Tucker Carlson. I have no issue saying it. I will say it 1,000 times. On that video, if Tucker Carlson is talking about war, I would give him credit for talking about war because if you're being honest, that's an honest thing to say. If Alex Jones is flipping out, and I want to give an emblematic example of what I think alt-right people are having now, then yeah, Alex Jones is the person that you give because he's alt-right. Fact is, having people who are always lefties on your channel is only giving you a very specific perspective, as opposed to having people who are also on the right who are giving a perspective. I don't have any issue doing it.
But I think the problem is like the culture that we live in now. Like if you make one mistake, and I think this is why a lot of your viewers are so like protective of you and like. But if you make one mistake, if you say like give the wrong sentiment, then everybody can turn against you so quickly. So a lot of the reason why a lot of shit that Debbie gets a lot of shit.
Yes, she does.
Like Jimmy's starting to get a lot of shit. Like if you go against the grain nowadays, like you'll catch that slack.
But Jay, that's
like,
always the case. I mean, you yourself didn't like something I did with Debbie and flipped out. I mean, that's always the case.
Yeah.
I guess I'm making a point to you that that's always the case. It is possible that the reason why you think that is because that's how you yourself function with the world. But that I would argue to you that's always like there's. Do you realize I've done videos that were the most tepid of tepid videos and gotten downvotes?
Oh,
and
I'm sure
how the
I've seen,
hell?
yeah.
I'm like, how the hell do you get a downvote? Like it's a video on cats, and somebody's like, I don't like this video. It's like, what?
It was probably me. It's probably me downloading.
You're downloading the cat video. I'm just making a point. I don't think there's any safe place. Like I think. Do you remember what the shit Jimmy was getting like when he was in the election? He was saying go against Hillary Clinton and everything else, and you had all these people who are attacking him constantly on this. Debbie comes out with the Parkland thing. People disagree with her, and people are calling her nuts and crazy. I looked at the commentary on that video that I did, which she did, where she was talking about it wasn't Parkland. It was something about. Oh, I know what it was.
Vegas? Was it Vegas?
No. Glenn Greenwald. She was making the point that Glenn Greenwald bringing up this thing of giving legitimacy to it is bogus. It's bullshit. And I said she was right. And the people in the thing were like, that she's nuts. She's a conspiracy theorist. She's crazy. Blah, 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 blah. I hope she
but even Jamal, even with the Debbie thing, like you also made a video after she was, she tried to rip apart Tulsi Gabbard about the
and that's the thing you got pissed at,
But she was wrong about that because she was referencing the wrong bill. She was referencing a bill that came out of the Senate.
But
Tulsi Gabbard's bill was coming from the House.
I understand. If you remember, the video that I did was very specific. Is that fair? I mean, I did a video. I didn't see the entirety of everything Debbie was saying. Debbie made like 3 videos. She was like 3 1-hour videos with her going full bore as something Tulsi Gabbard did. I listened to one video, and I did a thing talking specifically about the integrity of the vote that Debbie is making the point of saying, look, it goes beyond just paper ballots, and saying paper ballots doesn't necessarily get to the integrity of the people that are involved in the process. My point was, on that specific point, she was right. Now, you took issue with me because you said, how on earth did you allow this to pass? Debbie was talking about the wrong thing. You gave her pass for it.
She was talking about the wrong bill.
And I made the point to you that what Tulsi Gabbard was saying and what Debbie was saying, at least in that one specific video, in that specific video, and I'm saying specific because...
All right, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, she has 3 videos. She has 3 videos. Like, I didn't see each and every video. Like, and because... when I saw that, I was like, God damn it. Sometimes people tell me, they say...
But I guess my point is we have to hold Debbie to account as well.
Oh, I agree.
We can't allow this cult of personality with YouTube personalities to develop.
That is true.
Like, we have to be able to hold people to account for what they're saying.
And if I am being fair, I am somewhat biased with regards to Debbie. I will own up to it. I admit it. I have no issue admitting it.
And Jimmy.
I don't think I'm biased with Jimmy. I don't think I am. You think I am. Why do you think I'm biased with Jimmy? Tim, what have I said that was biased with Jimmy?
You were quick to defend Jimmy.
Yes, that is true. I am quick to defend him because I think he's gotten a lot of shit from people. And it feels like...
But deep down, Jimmy needs to do better. If Jimmy's going to be the voice of what we're fighting for, and he's going to be the leader, he needs to do better.
But what do you mean better? Go ahead.
He needs to put in more work. You know more than Jimmy. There's probably 50 people in your chat room right now that know more about politics than Jimmy. He needs to do more.
That's not fair.
that is totally fair. You don't think you know more about politics than Jimmy?
But that's it. I don't. That you can't ask me that question like that. That's a hard. It's not a hard question. I'm gonna say it like Mathis. That's complicated. That's not all that complex. That's complex. No, I love history, politics, and it's something that I gorge myself on. So I don't compare myself to other people in this. It's just something that I gravitated towards, where I can be somewhat specific and single-minded in my pursuits. And if you spend 2 years in a single-minded way of just engorging yourself on political history, you'll be learning a lot of shit in political history. But what has he said that you think he was lacking on when he's talked about it? I understand you're saying you know more. Okay. But what is he said specifically where you say, okay, Jimmy should have done better in that specific moment? Where are his fuck-ups?
So I guess my problem with Jimmy is, at this point, we already know what happened in 2016.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's more about this discussion we had before with Reform or Revolt. I'm starting to agree more with Garden Gnome, where I don't think we can vote our way out of this. I think there's going to have to be some fundamental change in the structure of our society to bring about what we want to have happen. So that's my point. So my problem with Jimmy is he keeps harping back to 2016, and he keeps harping back to Hillary. It's like, at some point we have to move forward.
I feel you.
So that's my problem with.
I think he's pissed off. I think that's what it is. And I know you're saying you can't be pissed off forever. And that feels like somebody telling a jilted lover, just get over it. It's like, why aren't you over this yet? That type of thing. I think he's pissed off. Honestly, I think HA is pissed off. I am pissed off. I think a lot of people are still pissed off. And I think, in an odd way, that gives a certain momentum to those people to do what they do. But like you say, you make the point of saying, but at some point, you got to move past that. Do we want to? Is that a fair question? Do we want to? Let's answer that question. Let's involve that. Let's engage that for the moment.
But the thing is,
they attack democracy.
There's a lot of people in this chat room that are critical thinkers and can think for themselves.
Yeah.
But his audience, and I've witnessed it myself, there's a lot of people that think Jimmy is fucking Jesus. Honestly, they think this guy is the second coming of God. So we have to be able to, I don't know how we do it, but we have to be able to rein the guy in at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel that way, but at some point we have to.
My audience has no issue with taking the piss out of me when I say something they think is wrong. I don't know how Door's audience is. I like my audience. I like the fact that my audience, I can be like, XYZ took place, I can't think of the name of it, and somebody in the audience says Gulf of Tonkin. Or they would say the Maine, talking about the Spanish-American War. Or they would say, Khrushchev got the letter after so forth. They would know the political factors and the people who were involved in those political situations going back 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Hell, you start talking about the Russian Revolution, and they're like, oh yeah, the Serbian guy that got shot, his name is Duke of so-and-so. It's amazing. I love it. Now, I don't know how Door's chat room is, so I can't necessarily comment on how bright his audience is. I will say this, though. Any chat has this cult of personality. In any situation, people kind of, this guy is the fucking awesome, and somebody says something against him, it's like, you're a fucking asshole for saying something. Just like, dude, what he said was true. I've had people in that chat where somebody said something, and I was like, wait a minute, what the guy's saying is true. Don't take the piss out of him. He's right. He's right. It's like he said something that you guys don't like, but he's right in this case. What I like is honest conflict, where people can have those conversations. They're not dicks to each other. They're not being assholes in the way they're going about it or saying it. They're not being surly, or they're just talking. They're just having a conversation, and people would have conversations as if they're respecting their opinions. They have their goals. I love that. I don't know. I agree with you, man. We need to have, and in fact, I agree with you on two fronts. From a political situation, we need to have the capacity to rein in political leaders when they're doing things that are off the rails. I think you're looking at this from a media standpoint and saying, our media systems have ossified to these guys being just hacks. And we need to prevent these people from being hacks again in a digital space. And it's like, how do you prevent people from ended up being hacks like they have on mainstream news and mainstream media in the digital format?
Right.
And your response is we need to hold them accountable so they don't get to that point where they're not those people. Otherwise, we're going to end up with the same system that we had before. Is that fair?
Just a different, just a different phase.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I understand. Yeah, I totally understand that. I don't know how you do that. Honestly, don't know how you do it.
I mean, one of the things is, like, what you're doing right now, you know, allowing calls, like, you allow consent, you know, disconsenting views.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things, and it allows people to give you another narrative or pushback.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think what you're doing is good, and again, like, I am definitely a supporter.
Thank you,
I
dude.
love what you're doing, so...
I appreciate it. And I appreciate that you don't mind dissenting. Honestly,
Yep.
I'm always slightly bothered because I don't know if... Sometimes I don't know if the audience agrees because they think I'm right, or they agree because it's me. And it's like, so sometimes dissent is one of those things that I'd be like, oh, good, they're dissenting. Okay. So if it's something that I say they disagree with, they will disagree with me on. So it's like, it's an odd thing. It's like, yes, I like the fact that people support me and I like the fact that they agree, but I also at some point understand when they disagree. And I take that, I take it earnest. In some weird cases, I look at the disagreements more because I'm like, all right, what are they saying? Okay, this guy's taking the piss out of me. Why is this guy taking the piss out of me? And then it's like, do I agree with it or disagree with it? Sometimes I disagree because a person is just a maniac. Sometimes I listen to it and be like, maybe they're right. Now, in your case, I listened to what you were saying and I said, but I didn't say that. Like, it's like, here's the thing. When somebody tells me and they say, dude, Debbie is doing something. Like, Debbie is going after Glenn Greenwald. And it's like, oh, fuck. I was like, oh, fuck. Because at this point, everybody knows that Debbie's one of my favorite people. And if she's going after somebody, if people immediately tell me she's going after so-and-so. So it was like, Debbie's going after Tulsi Gabbard. It's like, God damn it. Why is she going after Tulsi Gabbard? Like, it was that type of thing. And then it was like, why is she going after Glenn Greenwald? And then when I heard the Glenn Greenwald thing, I was like, yeah, she's right about the Glenn Greenwald thing. When I heard the Tulsi thing, I was like, she's right to a point. But, like, it's like, I don't like this one. I don't like her going after Tulsi. But she's right to a point. I'm biased towards Debbie. I have no bones about it. I like her. I like her too much. It's one of those things where I think that regardless of what people want to think about her, she comes to that from being an honest disposition of saying, this is what I believe is right. Now, you may think she's wrong, you may disagree with her, but I think at the very least she's not being biased or bought or anything else. I think this is how she honestly feels and takes these things. She gets a lot of shit for that. She really does.
Yep. And I've warmed up to Debbie, and like you said, like her passion, like she believes what she says.
Yeah.
And when she makes a stance, she believes a stance, whether or not you agree or disagree.
Yeah,
and
screaming in the forest.
My final point to you is, whether or not people agree or disagree with your points, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not like you want to make sure that people don't just buy into what you're saying just because they love you more.
Yes. No, I agree.
So that's my...
I agree. When I'm like this way in all sorts of ways. Like, I express this in all sorts of ways. If I'm doing something with my wife, I want my wife to agree. And so it's like, hey, are you sure you're okay with this? Yes, I'm okay with this. I don't want her doing it just because she's doing it for me. I want her to do it because she enjoys to do it. I don't get any enjoyment out of it. Like, so if we're going somewhere, I want her to want to actually go to that place as opposed to me just going along. I hate that. I can't. It's something in me that don't want people doing it just because it's me. I want them to do it because they're doing it and they enjoy doing it. I don't want it to be a burden. I don't want them suffering through it. I want them to enjoy it. My channel is the same way. It's like when people are watching my vids, I want them to watch the videos that they like. I want them to like the videos that they like. If they don't like it, fair enough. If they don't like something on the title that they disagree with, fair enough. Like, I want them to enjoy it. And I have this thing in me that want them to enjoy the videos because they themselves enjoy the videos. And one thing about YouTube that I got was, well, if they don't have to watch it. Like, if they don't like it, they're not going to like it. They're not going to watch it. So if they're liking it, it's something that they actually enjoy. Yeah, man. I've had a lot of weird emotional eddies associated with it, but that's one of them that I agree with you on, that I had to pay attention to on who are you growing your audience with? Meaning, who's the people who are coming to you in your audience? And are they capable of disagreeing with you? Like disagreeing with the host. I've seen that, yes, they are perfectly okay with disagreeing with the host. I don't know if that's normal, but that is absolutely true. And as for growing my audience around me, I want to reach out to Trump voters. I want to. Mm-hmm. Honest to God. Because, Jay, think about it. You have two.
We have to, yeah.
You have to. Like 30% of the people who voted for Obama went to Trump. Yeah. Like, 30% of Trump voters had voted for Obama. Those people weren't racist. Those people weren't sexist. Those people, weren't punishing the Democrats because they put a darkie in the White House. None of that stuff. Those people were disaffected. And those people said, we want something fundamentally different. And they saw Donald Trump and thought he was fundamentally different. They took his tone to something different. Now, I make the case that I am not a Democrat. I am something different. I don't know what I am. I'm something different. There are a lot of malcontents out there that are something different. And I'm saying I want those malcontents. Even if we disagree on, 10, 20% of stuff, I want them around me in one specific thing so all of us can talk and bitch and moan. And at the very least, when issues of war come up, we disagree with it. When issues of other stuff, we can, because we are at the very least, look at each other as some degree in similarities. Hash those things out. Have you thought of, why don't states go to war? Why don't states go to war? Like, the states are different. I mean, they have different interests, and yet they don't resolve it in war and conflict.
I agree. I think federal senators and federal House members should be elected on the federal level.
That's interesting.
It shouldn't be just states if they affect the entire country. So, I mean, our system, we just have a lot of problems.
We do.
But I will end this conversation.
Very cool, Jay.
I'm a huge supporter. Man. I like you. I give you a lot of shit, but I still like you. And
I appreciate it.
The only reason why I give you shit is because I just want to push back, and I want to be able to feel that I can push back and that it does.
I would say this. I think I understand your disposition more now. Before, I didn't get where you were coming from. Like, honestly, I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? That was my thought. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? And as you explain this in a sense of, look, I don't want you guys to turn out to be what mainstream media is. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, you could be the next Cenk. Like, if you get big enough, you could be the next. Like, I don't.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. As before, I didn't have context. I understand it now. But Jay, thank you very much, man. I appreciate your call.
All right, brother. Thank you. Bye.
All right. So we have a super cash. Who is this? FTW all day. This isn't rocket science, JT. If the right wants to be anti-war, they have come to the left, not the other way around. The left has always been anti-imperialist. Let's not get things twisted. Well, you had an anti-war right also. I mean, come on. FTW, Rand Paul, Ron Paul. Those guys are anti-war. I mean, they're libertarians, and libertarians have fundamentally been anti-war. Like, I guess I'm saying, yes, the left is anti-war under normal circumstances. That is true. And I would agree with you that if you're talking about anti-war, come to the left. I agree with you on that too. I agree with you on that. But there are factions of the right, malcontents of the right, that are also anti-war. I want them to come home. I want those people to come to Jesus, come to this side. And by this side, this is not a party. This is a bunch of people in the wilderness who are looking for a name or looking for something to be. I am saying that with us together, we are not the hunted anymore. We're the hunters. We get teeth. We get bats. We get the things that prowl the night looking for people to bash over their heads. That's what we become. We become something fundamentally different. We may argue over 30% of issues, but at the very least, the big things like war, we're in agreement. I would even wager that the majority of the people in the country, when asked about healthcare, when asked about basic gun regulations, agree. Now, this section of the left are not SJWs. Nobody's trying to police your speech. Don't be racist around us, of course. We're going to defend those things. But for all intents and purposes, we're not trying to defend your speech. We're not trying to shut your speech down. None of that stuff. We're not the ones who are trying to, shut you up. I guess that's what I'm trying to get across. We can argue over certain things. We may argue over immigration. That may be something that's inter-party where we fight over. There may be factions of us that take different dispositions on that. But there are factions in each and every party. The Blairites versus the Corbyns. The corporate wing of the Democratic Party versus the base, the reactive, or the active, I guess, left-leaning base. I mean, I'm saying those things are always part of the political process. Let's see. Hello, what's your name and who's calling?
It doesn't matter. Like, it's not like... Hello?
Hello?
Is this Jamal?
This is Jamal. Cut your computer down. What's your name, man? What do you want to talk about?
This is Thomas Owen from Lansing, Michigan. I've been listening to you for a while, and I don't know, man. It just seems like America's playing chicken with Russia, and they don't happen to realize that, Russia has nukes just like us.
I think they realize it. I think they think that brinksmanship applies. That they can push up to a certain point and that Russia won't respond. That's what I think. I think that's why they limited the strikes. I think they made sure those strikes didn't hit anything in Russian, didn't kill Russian soldiers. I think they were very specific in what they did because they fully understood the consequences of their actions. That's what I honestly think. I think this is brinksmanship.
You could very well be right.
That's what I think.
Before.
But I agree with you on this. It is extremely dangerous. It is extremely dangerous.
It kind of reminds me of the Batman movie where Joker puts the prisoners in one boat and the citizens in the other boat.
Yeah.
And he says, somebody's going to push a button before midnight or you're both going to die. It's just like, what?
We're in this weird situation where we're literally waiting on a response from Russia. That's so fucking weird. And that means that this is not like a proxy war anymore. Like all the issues that took place in the Cold War, those things were proxies. This is not a proxy. Russia, in some way, is going to respond. That's not a proxy. That's not a proxy.
They said they were.
Say that again?
They said they were going to respond.
Yeah, they said they were going to respond. Russia said they're going to respond. Russia has said you should not. They made the point clear that the United States should not attack Syria. And they've made the point that said we will respond if you do. After the bombing, Russia has said we are going to respond from this. This becomes this kind of proportional thing. Yeah, they're going to respond. We don't know what that response is going to be. Nobody knows. Russia has not taken the United States' word that this was a chemical strike. They've said that it was a hoax. They've said that they have proof, irrefutable evidence, quote unquote, that this was a hoax. They said they've interviewed the people who were there, and those people said that it was smoke inhalation. It was not chemical weapons, and people videotaped it in order to give it a false impression. That's what they've said.
Even Mad Dog Mattis wanted evidence before the bombing.
Well, he didn't get it.
No.
He didn't get it. He didn't get it on the last one. He didn't get it on this one. And Tulsi Gabbard made the point to him that this was illegal, and he talking about it's complex. It's not complex, sir. It's illegal. Don't like the word.
Bolton is possibly one of the worst picks he's ever had besides the CIA torturer-in-chief.
He's terrifying, man. He is absolutely terrifying. I mean, and that's another thing. I should have brought that up, but I was running into like 30 minutes. All of those people who were supporting Trump, thinking that he was going to be conciliatory towards Russia, he chose Bolton to be his guy. And not just Bolton, he chose a torturer, Nina Haspel, or Haspel, to be head of the CIA. The woman is, literally, if that woman sets foot in Europe, that woman would be locked up for war crimes.
Yep.
And he put her as head of the CIA. Make America great again. Is this making America great again? Is this
Make
clearing
America
out the swamp?
torture again?
Yeah. Is this right? Is this cleaning out the swamp? So yeah, I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
One little funny anecdote. Bolton reminds me of that. The dog on that. What was that show called? It was
Family Guy.
Mr. Peabody. The dog. remember that show? They used to go on adventures and stuff.
I'm aware of it. I don't think I remember it fully. I do remember, you know, sometimes this stuff is soaks in the public consciousness where you're just kind of aware of it, but you're not necessarily watch it. I'm aware of it.
Yeah. It was on Rocky and Bullwinkle back in the day.
I do remember Rocky and Bullwinkle. I remember that. Oh God, man, we're old. I remember that show. I'm trying to think. I don't remember Mr. Peabody, but I remember Rocky and Bullwinkle. Oh man, we're too old. We're ancient, man. We're ancient.
Yeah, they made a movie, Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Oh wow. Okay. So, dude, I have to do another show. Dude, I am gonna have to. Thank you very much. There was just news that just released, but I'm gonna make this into a separate video. So, thank you for calling. Let me make sure anyone else has donated cash. Good. All right. So, guys, I'm gonna end this. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I have a show coming up immediately after this. There's been news from the Skirple case in Britain. It's not favorable to the government of Britain. Let's just say it that way. So I will see you guys in about 20 minutes or so. Thanks everyone for showing up. For the people who helped contribute for the show, thank you very much. You guys are immensely appreciated. You guys helped the show go on. FTW all day, KJN, both of you, thank you. Thank you very much. You have a heartfelt appreciation. I'm ending this now. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, guys. See you shortly.